What's up, everyone? Pony Lover 1989 here. So, do you really want to know how Ash and Pikachu first met? Well, we're just gonna have to travel way back to the very first episode of the anime. Ash woke up late after accidentally throwing his Voltorb alarm clock and throwing it to the wall in his sleep. He sees the sun in the sky and realized that he overslept. He ran straight to Professor Oak's laboratory in a hurry that he doesn't change out his pajamas, and at this point doesn't care which starter he gets as long as he gets a Pokemon. He arrives at the lab in time to see one of the other new fellow trainers, including Professor Oak's grandson, Gary. Unfortunately for Ash, Gary was very overconfident and brags that he was on time and already got his first Pokemon. Although he refuses to reveal which one he received, Gary's large crowd includes a group of cheerleaders cheering for him, and Gary promises that he'll become a Pokemon master and put Pallet Town on the map before leaving. And as the crowd follows, Ash was left all by himself, but not for long as Professor Oak approaches. Ash apologizes for being late and hardly being dressed for the occasion, but tells Professor Oak that he is ready to get his very first Pokemon. Taken to Professor Oak's lab, Ash sees 3 Pokeballs sitting on a pedestal and states that after thinking about it, he decides to choose Squirtle as a starter. However, the Pokeball was empty. Oak explains that Squirtle was already taken by a trainer that was already on time. Ash doesn't mind, as he decides to go with Bulbasaur instead, who has also been taken. Ash was still unhappy to go with Charmander, but alas, all the Pokemon were gone with someone who aren't late. Ash asks if this means there are no Pokemon left for him, but Oak tells him there is only one left, but it was unusual. At this point, Ash was willing to settle for anything, and tells Oak that he'll take whatever it was. The 4th Pokeball emerges from the pedestal. Ash picks it up, upon which point opens it, and out of it emerges a small yellow mouse creature. Oak explains to him that this Pokemon was named Pikachu. Ash was very impressed by its adorableness and cuteness, deciding that Pikachu is better than any other starters. He picks up Pikachu, hugs it, but Pikachu didn't like being hugged and gives Ash a massive electric shock, as Oak explains that Pikachu is an electric type and has a shocking personality to match. Oak gives Ash some of the Pokeballs and a Pokédex, at which point Pikachu shocks both of them. Heading outside, Ash finds his mother, Delia, and a small group of supporters outside, ready to wish him luck as he heads out on his journey. Ash's mom gets so weepy at the thought of her son leaving to start his life as a trainer, before then starting to list the numerous supplies that she had to pack for him before he goes. Then she notices the Pikachu and asks why he wasn't in its Pokeball, like the other Pokemon. Ash realizes that she was right and tells Pikachu to get inside, but Pikachu refuses, repeatedly swatting the ball away. Ash's mom simply assumes that the two of them were playing catch, but admits that she finds Pikachu weird. Pikachu didn't take kindly to that comment and shocks everyone in the area except for Professor Oak, who remarks that the rubber gloves that were packed will come in handy since the rubber doesn't conduct electricity. Ash and Pikachu began their long journey, walking beyond the outskirts of Pallet Town. Or rather, Ash wearing rubber gloves is walking while Pikachu, who's tied to the clothesline like a leash, is being dragged along behind him. Ash tries to talk to Pikachu, but all he learns is that all Pokemon can only speak in their own name, and doesn't like him at all. Trying to persuade Pikachu to get inside its Pokeball, Ash consults his Pokédex, but later confirms that many Pokemon travel in Pokeballs, but some don't like being confined. Deciding to make life easier for Pikachu, Ash removes the leash and the rubber gloves, but Pikachu still wasn't impressed. Just then the two hear the footsteps behind them and find that they are close to a wild Pidgey. Ash looks up Pidgey on a Pokédex and finds out that this bird is a flying type, which is gentle and easy to catch, and a good choice for a beginning trainer. Ash is happy at the chance to test Pikachu's skills and tries to send him into battle, but Pikachu refuses and instead decides to climb a tree and watch. Ash, angry at Pikachu's continuing disobedience, decided to do it all by himself, throws the Pokeball at Pidgey. The ball connects and the Pidgey was drawn inside, leading Ash to think he's actually captured it. However, the Pokeball shakes for a few seconds before Pidgey escapes, and the Pokédex explains that when catching a Pokemon, you normally have to use your own Pokemon battle against the other and weaken the target first. Pikachu finds Ash's inept attitude hilarious, while Ash gets more worked up, determined to show Pikachu what he can do. He decides to try to sneak up on Pidgey with the pajama shirt, but when he covers it, the Pokemon unleashes its Gust and Sand attack in response. Ash was sent crashing to the ground and Pidgey flies away. As Ash bemoans his bad luck, he then notices another Pokemon rifling through his bag. He chases it away as the Pokédex identify it as Rattata, a normal type that lives in the forest. When Ash states that they're not in forest, the Pokédex goes on to explain that occasionally Rattata will emerge to steal food from stupid travelers. As Pikachu laughs further, Ash notices more Pidgey nearby, throws a stone at them in frustration. Just then he spots what he thinks is a Pidgey nearby and is determined to finally catch one. He throws another stone and makes a direct hit, but it turns out it wasn't a Pidgey at all. Instead, it was a much angrier looking bird Pokemon. Ash scans it with the Pokédex and it identified it as a Spearow. Unlike Pidgey, it has a bad attitude and violent temperament, being known for attacking people and Pokemon without warning. Ash then sees Spearow flying directly at him, but then the Spearow spots Pikachu in a tree as it passes and decides to attack him instead. The Pokédex explains that wild Pokemon are sometimes jealous of those Pokemon with trainers. As Ash tries to get the Spearow to focus on him again instead, Spearow nearly knocks Pikachu out of a tree, at which point the electric type unleashes electricity at his attacker, which sends Spearow falling to the ground. Spearow was down but not out. It lets out a cry, and in the distance, Ash and Pikachu spot a large flock of Spearow emerging from a tree and heading straight towards them. The two decide to make a run for it and quickly try to get away as the furious flock gives chase. Ash promises to protect Pikachu, but Pikachu runs on ahead of Ash, making himself the easy target for Spearow, who didn't hesitate to attack him en masse. By the time Ash catches up, Pikachu is very weak and can no longer run, so Ash picks him up and carries him. The two came to a fast-flowing river, and Ash, needing to get away from the angry Spearow, quickly jumps in and allows him and Pikachu to be swept away, during which he is nearly becoming a lunch for Gyarados. Further down the river, when there was no current, there was a young girl with orange hair who's leisurely fishing when the lure starts to react. The girl then quickly grabs her rod to reel in what she thinks will be a big one, but instead yanks out Ash and Pikachu. She is disappointed, but then notices Pikachu and angrily tells Ash that he should never let his Pokemon get into such a bad condition. She tells him that the Pikachu needs to get treatment right away, explaining that there is a Pokemon Center, the medical center that specializes in healing Pokemon nearby. As she points out the direction that Ash needs to go, he then notices the flock of Spearow have caught up to them. Ash decides to make a getaway on the girl's bike, putting Pikachu in a basket, and despite her protests, promising that he'll eventually give it back, much to her anger. The girl's name was Misty. As Ash rides for his dear life, a thunderstorm started. With rain falling and the Spearow flock still on his tail, Ash rides as fast as he can, but however the Spearow catch up and start to attack him, And this, coupled with the dangerous conditions, eventually causes Ash to fly off a small bank, crashing to the ground. Lying in the mud, Ash spotted Pikachu nearby, weaker than ever. Upset that his first day as a trainer had turned into such a disaster, Ash tells Pikachu to get inside his Pokeball, and it seems to be the only way that he can be safe from the approaching Spearow. Deciding that he is finished running, Ash stands up before the Spearow and announces that he refuses to be beaten by the likes of them if he's going to be a Pokemon Master, vowing to defeat them all. Pikachu sees this as Ash is willing to sacrifice himself to save the poor Pokemon, and just before the Spearow flock attack, and Pikachu jumps up into his shoulder and then into the air, and then struck by lightning, causing him to let out a massive thunder shock, which throws Ash back onto the ground. Soon the rain cleared and the sun was shining. Ash and Pikachu were laying unconscious near the smoldering remains of the bike they stole from Misty. The two wake up and find that the flock of Spearow were gone. They weakly note that despite everything, they managed to defeat their attackers together and finally formed a friendship. And just then a mysterious, shimmering golden bird Pokemon flies over towards a rainbow. Ash wonders what it was, and the Pokédex cannot identify it, but explains that there are still more Pokemon yet to be discovered. And this is how Ash and Pikachu became friends. And the mysterious Pokemon that flew over the rainbow was the legendary Ho-Oh. Anyway, this is all I can tell you about how Ash and Pikachu first met and became friends. I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys like me to talk about more info and other stuff like that, comment your thoughts down below. And click a thumbs up if you like this video. Notify me and don't forget to subscribe. Pody Lover 1989 signing off.